Hey everyone, welcome back to 10-Minute History Lessons, where history should be short, but never forgotten. I'm your host, Antonio Milian. Today, we're talking about legacy. Legacy isn't just what we leave behind when we're gone. In today's world, legacy has become more layered, more contested. It's your reputation, your contribution, your story, but also how things are told, remembered, or distorted over time. Sometimes your legacy is honored, sometimes it's erased, sometimes it's stolen, and sometimes it's invented. So today, I want to walk you through three powerful stories where legacy is at the center. A Haitian engineer who defied racial norms, a corporate betrayal that nearly exposed one of the world's most iconic secrets, and a man who built a healing empire. Let's start with Joseph Laroche, whose story was almost completely lost to history. Joseph Laroche was born in 1886, Cap Haitien, Haiti. He wasn't just anyone. He came from one of Haiti's most respected families. His uncle was President Cincinnatus Leco. Joseph grew up with access to privilege, opportunity, and education. But even within that context, Joseph stood out. He was gifted, fluent in multiple languages, and inclined towards engineering and science. At 15, he left Haiti for France to further his education. He enrolled in the most prestigious universities in Paris, one of the top engineering schools in the country. He became a trained engineer with hopes to provide for his family and build a better life for himself and his country. While in France, Joseph fell in love with Juliette Laroche, a white French woman. Their relationship defied early 20th century racial norms and prejudice. Despite societal disapproval, the couple married and started a family, having two daughters and later expecting a third child. But life wasn't easy. Despite his education and pedigree, Joseph faced constant racial discrimination when trying to secure work. French employers refused to pay him what they would offer a white man with the same qualifications. For years, he struggled to find adequate employment that matched his skill level. Frustrated and eager to provide a better future for his family, Joseph decided to return to Haiti, where he could use his education and experience to contribute meaningfully and support his growing household. To make the journey, the Laroche family originally booked a passage on a French liner, but they learned the ship did not allow children to dine with their parents. That didn't sit right with Joseph, who was a loving father and a devoted husband. So he canceled the tickets and instead booked a second-class passage on the Titanic. It's important to note that Joseph could afford first-class tickets, but due to his race, he was denied first-class accommodations. The Titanic, like much of Western society at the time, upheld white supremacist social norms, even in death. On April 10th, 1912, Joseph, Juliette, and their two daughters boarded the Titanic. 4 days later, the ship struck an iceberg and chaos unfolded. Joseph helped his pregnant wife and daughters onto a lifeboat. They survived. Joseph did not, and his body was never recovered. What's perhaps most tragic is how his story was nearly lost to time. For decades, the Titanic narrative was largely whitewashed. Many people have said that the Titanic had no Black people or anyone of color on, and as time went on, it's discovered that this was untrue. Joseph's name didn't appear in early press coverage or popular accounts. It wasn't until Titanic historians in the 1990s unearthed personal letters and records that his presence was confirmed. His story forces us to reconsider what we think we know about the Titanic and who we choose to remember. Joseph Laroche was a brilliant engineer, a devoted family man, and a symbol of Black excellence. And yet, his legacy was nearly erased. But today, we get to talk about it. From a hidden legacy to one that someone tried to steal, let's move from the freezing Atlantic to a high-security office in Atlanta, where one woman almost stole one of the most guarded secrets in the world. In 2008, Joya Williams, a 41-year-old executive assistant at Coca-Cola, made headlines for all the wrong reasons. Joya was a long-time employee at Coca-Cola, having worked her way up to an elite position where she had direct access to senior executives. She managed sensitive materials, scheduled confidential meetings, and had the kind of behind-the-scenes access few others in the company possessed. But despite the access and prestige, she wasn't satisfied. Like many of us, she felt undervalued and became disgruntled. Along with her accomplices, she hatched a plan to steal highly classified documents and product samples, the recipe for a new Coke product still in development. The Coca-Cola formula is legendary. It's kept in a high-secret vault. Only a few people know it, and even fewer have access to it. Stealing it would be like robbing Fort Knox of its gold. Joya gathered the documents and samples and reached out to PepsiCo. Posing as a whistleblower, she offered to sell Coca-Cola the secret for $1.5 million. But here's the twist. PepsiCo didn't bite. They immediately contacted Coca-Cola, who then called the FBI. The FBI launched a full-scale investigation and set up a sting operation. They posed as interested buyers, communicating and setting up a fake transaction. In one key meeting, one of her accomplices handed over a confidential product sample to an undercover agent in exchange for what he thought was a duffel bag full of cash. That was enough. The FBI arrested all three co-conspirators. In court, Joya portrayed as the ringleader, someone who abused her position of trust for personal gain. Her trial made national news. In 2007, she was convicted of wire fraud and conspiracy to steal trade secrets. She was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison. Her two accomplices received shorter sentences for their involvement. Today, Joya is out of prison. She completed her time and lives a private life. Her story serves as a stark reminder of how fragile trust and corporate legacy can be, and how close Coca-Cola came to a brand-shattering breach. And now, from one fraud to another, or perhaps something more spiritual, let's head back to the 1800s to meet Daniel David Palmer, the man who founded chiropractic care and built a healing empire with his bare hands. Daniel David Palmer was born in Ontario, Canada in 1845. He had little to no formal education, but possessed a relentless intellect and curiosity about the world. His early life was marked by hard work and hustling. He worked as a beekeeper, a grocer, a teacher, and eventually a practitioner of magnetic healing. By middle age, Palmer had fully immersed himself in alternative health movements. He was deeply influenced by 19th century spiritualism, a belief that unseen forces could affect the physical world. In 1895, while living in Davenport, Iowa, Palmer claimed to perform a spinal adjustment on a janitor named Harvey Lillard. According to Palmer, Lillard had lost his hearing years earlier after a back injury. Palmer believed that the vertebrae in Lillard's spine were misaligned and pressing on nerves. He performed an adjustment, and Lillard said that he had his hearing returned. This moment became the origin story of chiropractic care. Palmer developed a theory that most diseases were caused by spinal misalignments, what he called subluxations, that interfered with the body's innate ability to heal itself. He opened the first chiropractic school in 1897, training others in his method. But Palmer's methods were controversial. He had no medical training, and many doctors viewed him as a quack. He was jailed multiple times for practicing medicine without a license. He once claimed that medicine and surgery were more dangerous than disease itself. There's evidence that Palmer exaggerated or fabricated some of his claims. Historians believe that Lillard's story was exaggerated and Lillard may not have even existed. Palmer's son, B.J. Palmer, would later accuse his father of being a fraud and took over the chiropractic movement, turning it into a profitable business and expanding its reach. Despite the skepticism, chiropractic care gained popularity, especially among those disillusioned with traditional medicine. Today, it's a multi-billion-dollar practice worldwide. D.D. Palmer's legacy is complex. He was a pioneer, a rebel, and maybe a huckster. But his impact on health and wellness, whether scientific or spiritual, can't be denied. Legacy is a strange thing. It can be erased, rediscovered, stolen, invented, or fabricated. But in the end, legacy is what people remember and what time refuses to forget. Thanks for listening to 10-Minute History Lessons. I'm Antonio Milian. If you learned something today, please like, follow, subscribe, and give us 5 stars wherever you're listening. It helps more than you know. Until next time, stay curious.